What is going on, everyone, and welcome to r/EntitledParents. Now, in today's first story, an entitled mum stops her own daughter from getting on a flight. Entitled mum makes me miss flights. This happened a few years ago, and I had like a vivid flashback of it while walking home the other day. I, a 26-year-old female, moved to New York City when I was 18, but visited home quite often to see my little brother. My parents are divorced. I'd always ask my dad to drive me and pick me up from the airport. It's about a 45-minute drive. I almost always take the cheapest flights, which are usually red-eyes, so I've always really appreciated it and made it clear with verbal thanks and small gifts for my dad. He's always just glad to see me, to be honest, and we always sort of cry and hug at the drop-off gates. My mum noticed this about 2 years in and started to get super huffy. "Why don't you ever ask me to take you to the airport? I don't understand why you'd want to spend 45 minutes in the car with him." Stuff like that. But I knew if I did, she'd make a huge deal out of it. Plus, she's super unreliable. Years pass and I have an afternoon flight back to New York City. I finally agreed to let my mother drive me to the airport. My dad had to work anyways, so it should be fine, right? Wrong. First, my mother demands my little brother come as well, so she doesn't have to drive back alone. He doesn't mind and would have come anyways, but still, the energy is already bad. Then she decides we're going to go to the only restaurant in like 3 counties that serves pho. Okay, great, I don't mind and it's near the airport, but I express many times that we'd need to leave early to do lunch and make my flight. The day of, she's an hour late to grab my brother and I expressed that we probably won't have time to make my flight and have lunch, and that she and my brother should grab it after dropping me off. She's furious, rolls her eyes, calls me a nervous Nelly, whatever, demands I go to lunch. The place is packed busy. They tell us at the door the food will take a while. I asked the lady if my mum and brother can place an order and pick it up in 30 minutes, but my mum marches off to a dirty table and sits down, gesturing that the poor hostess clean it up. My brother and I are mortified, but the lady told us it's okay and that we should just go and sit. Boarding starts in 15. I show my mum my boarding pass and the text alert that my flight is there. I pull up the Uber app to see if Uber even exists in this rural area. It doesn't. My little brother is trying his best to encourage that we leave, but she refuses. The whole restaurant watches as my mum yells at me and dresses me down, screaming about how I'm ungrateful, how I'm lucky that she even offered to drive me and pay for my food. She gets more and more worked up as I just stop responding, how I'll die alone and never have kids. Then she starts talking about confidential medical information that to this day I do not know how she found out. I tried to de-escalate so many times, but she had decided to be everyone's problem. At this point, I could tell I was going to miss my flight. I didn't have the energy to care, and I was reeling from the hateful things she was saying though. I stepped out to call the airline and change my flight. Our waitress stepped out after and let me know they were rushing our order. The whole staff were really kind considering how terrible it all was. When I came back in, my brother was basically slumped down in his chair and my mum was on her phone telling my uncle about how ungrateful I was. The food was there, but obviously I didn't want to eat. The waitress grabbed the check right away and left it at the table with to-go containers, but my mum got really mad at that even. She was like, "Don't try and accommodate this ugly girl. Look, she won't even eat your food. She thinks she's too good for it." And then she ordered more food. She asked for them to pack up 4 extra servings so she could take it home to my stepdad and sister's family. We sat there as she ate, my sweet baby brother Snapchatting me under the table trying to cheer me up. By the time the food for my step family arrived, my flight had already departed. She went up to pay and I left a $40 tip on the table for our server. My mum stayed on the phone the entire rest of the way, and while my brother helped me grab my bag, she rolled down the window and yelled at him to hurry up. He asked if he could walk me to security, but my mum just sneered and said she's already missed her flight. We need to hurry home and take this food to everyone. I just gave him a big hug and told him not to worry. I got the next flight. I tried my best not to cry while waiting. Anyways, it took a while, but we're no contact now. Looking back, it's such a bat-crazy, insane thing to do, but at the time, I really did doubt myself. Well, after reading that story, I think it's pretty clear exactly why your dad divorced your mum. to say the least. I'm not exactly sure why he was with her in the first place, if I'm honest, but luckily for you, it seems like you have more of your dad's genes and personality traits than your mum's, because Jesus Christ, having her as a mother, that must have been a very troubling childhood. I mean, surely this is not one of the only stories. If she's acted like this in this event, I reckon there's a lot more to come from OP. Jesus, that whole story was just an absolute calamity. This mother, wow, I don't ever see her again, but I probably will in another story soon. Let's move on to the second one. Now moving on to our second story. Sorry, I will not do that. I am an atheist. A brief history. When I was in my 20s, in the early 90s, I started dating a girl. I will call her Emma. We were dating for around 7 or 8 months when she thought she would introduce me to her parents. I was brought up with good manners and to give respect until respect is not deserved. So, one evening, I was to go and meet her folks. Now, this story involves a crazy religious mother and a nutty father. My girlfriend at the time knew I was an atheist and had no problems with it. I knew she was brought up in a strict Christian home and had no problem with it. Our problem was her parents were never going to accept me until I found Jesus. I wasn't even looking for him. After some time, and her telling all my good traits to her family, neglecting to tell them the atheist part, both her parents and her thought it was time to meet. As with most people, this can be a bit stressful. What made it worse is after driving almost an hour and a half, she breaks it to me that her parents will want me to take part in saying grace before eating. I told her flat out that is not going to happen. She was almost to the point of begging, but not going that far that I just do it. I asked, what about how I feel about religion? Would they come to my home and expect to pray? I wouldn't pray, I'd just start eating. I will be polite and stay quiet while you guys do your thing and eat when you're done, but I refuse to pray. It's 100% a no from me. The last few minutes getting there and not another word was spoken. We sat around getting to know each other and seemingly getting along quite well, I thought. After some time, it was time to sit down to eat. We all say grace here, the nutty father announced proudly. It's tradition at our table. We all take a turn thanking God for something good in our day. How about you start? I'm sorry, I said. I don't know what Emma told you about me, but I am a strong atheist. I don't want to be rude, so I will sit here quietly until you are all done, then we can eat. You would have thought I tried telling him I was a harbinger of Satan himself. Without an exaggeration, both parents jumped up from the table at the same time, knocking their chairs over. The crazy mother started hollering at me. Atheists are demons sent by Satan. They want nothing more than to steal, take drugs, and more things I will not write here because they were so disgusting. I want you gone from my house and never come back. All the respect I offered was now gone, so the manners went out of the window. I stood up and told them, I am not evil just because I don't believe in the same things as you do. You yourselves are atheists in a way as well. You think your God is the true and right one, but so do the other 2,000 and some other religions in the world. Not all are right, because that's impossible. So if none are right, then they are all wrong. And if this is how religious people act towards non-religious people, I'd rather be an atheist and treat people with the respect I showed you for the last few hours. You had zero problems with me until you found that one thing out, and now I'm evil? I'm not going to sit at a table with hypocrites. I'm leaving. I asked my girlfriend if she was staying or coming back with me. She stayed. I made a nice quiet trip back to my apartment. I did have to stop for supper on my way though. Moral of the story is, don't think that because you believe in God, it makes you a better person than someone who doesn't. I was golden for 4 hours or more before it was time to eat. Only then, that's when things started falling apart. I still dated the girl for another month or less. She kept wanting me to call her parents and say sorry for being rude though. It never happened, of course. Wow, that was actually a very interesting story. I mean, to be fair, as an atheist myself, I can probably say what I would have done in this situation, as this has happened to me a number of times, really. So, first of all, if I was in a household and they were all saying grace, I'd probably just get in the mix and, just do it out of politeness. Now, OP is saying he was being polite, saying, yeah, you know what, I'll let you guys all do grace, but I'm not gonna, take part. I'll just sit here in silence, being polite. I think you could have gone a step further. I get that you don't want to do something that you don't believe in, but just do it. It's not that hard. It's not really that harmful, is it? Like, is that going to annoy you that much to just say grace to a God that you don't believe in and that you think is all made up anyway? I would just do that. I've done that before. I don't really see the problem with that. And, you know, honestly, that is being way more polite to the people that you're with than just saying, you know what, I don't agree with this, and sitting back in silence, in my opinion. Now, that's not to take away from the fact that you are obviously very strong in your own beliefs about there not being any God, but surely if you are so strong in your beliefs, you don't mind just being polite and just getting involved in a made-up grace thing that you don't really show any importance to at all and don't really care about. It's just to be nice to the people around you. That's the way I see it personally. I don't really think that by saying grace myself or praying to God, I'm actually praying to God, because how can I pray to a God if I don't believe he exists, or it exists? Because I don't, like OP doesn't. So it's just, you know, saying something to be polite and not be really rude in this situation. I don't know, maybe you guys disagree with me. Maybe you think that OP stood his ground well and was polite by not getting involved and saying, you know what, I am an atheist, but I respect that people are religious. I'm not going to get involved in this one, but I will enjoy the food nonetheless, and I have been nice for the past 4 hours. Now, one thing is for sure though, you should not ever do what these entitled parents did and go all crazy like this and just say, no, get out. If you're not Christian or whatever, I don't even know what religion they were, Christian, then you're out of here, because that is just a load of BS. I mean, never force your religion onto anyone. That is not right. But I don't know, I think some sort of middle ground would have been better here. Just so OP was like, you know what, I get it. They're kind of nutty. They're kind of nutty religious guys, but I'll just put that to one side, get on with them without having to deal with all the religious stuff. Say grace, even though I don't really mean it in my own head, because I don't really care. It's just the polite thing to do, and get on with it. Now, as for the girlfriend, yeah, definitely leave her. That was the correct decision, because if she's gonna like just favor her parents over you when you have such a big argument, then clearly she's not the one. And also, if she's asking you to apologize for not saying grace and something that you really believe in, then nah, clearly she doesn't understand where you're even coming from in the first place. So you made a good decision there, that is for sure. But yeah, overall, that's what I think about this story and in general, and you know, what you should do with religious people when you're not religious yourself. I mean, like with school and just, you know, in my free time, I've gone to religious places, and you do still take part in their, you know, processions or praying. You don't actually have to do the praying. Just say something, make it up, just be nice. I don't know, that's what I do. Doesn't, just because you're saying, oh, thanks God, doesn't mean you're now suddenly believing in God, in my opinion. You can just say it to be nice, is my main point. But let me know down below, guys, what do you think? Because that's just my opinion. Thousands of you, though, are watching right now. Comment your opinions, because honestly, as I always say, I'm probably very wrong. But I need you lot to let me know down below and say, this is why you're wrong, Jack, and just give me some points. And I'll go through and read some, and I'll learn something myself, hopefully. Anyway, good to hear from you guys. Comment down below. So guys, that is going to do it for this one. I hope you have enjoyed it, but don't go anywhere. Yeah, I know you're all clicking off. Comment down below before you leave, because I'm actually genuinely interested in your thoughts on this last story, because it is like one of the most interesting stories that I've read out in a while in terms of debate. So yeah, comment down below. And now that you've commented, now you can click off, but don't click off to the side, to the left. Click here instead. Watch some more from me right away. If you are new to my channel and you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the subscribe button and turn notifications on, because I post here daily, if you didn't know. So if you turn that button on, then you'll get notified tomorrow when I post once again. See you all there, and have a great rest of your day.